everybody, it's about to be a good day. Don't care about what they say. Come on, everybody, it's about to be a good day. Don't care about what they say.
It's about to be a good day with your boy Denard Andre. We going up on a Monday like it's your birthday. Have your friends that don't even trip. About to go loud, grab your drinks, take a sip. Kick back, relax, forget about the stress. Gonna laugh it up, yeah. It's the worst day of the week, but the best day for me. We're gonna have a party. Let's have a party. It's the worst day of the week, but the best day for me. But it's the best. Have a party. Let's have a party. It's the worst day of the week, but the best day for me. Oh yeah. Have a party. Let's have a party. It's the worst day of the week, but the best day for me. Let's have a party. Let's have a party. Yeah.
It's still playing this one. Worst Day of the Week is all the way live. Worst Day of the Week is all the way live. Thank you so much for tuning in to Worst Day of the Week today. We have a really good show for you today. I have my special guest, Venton Hill-Jones, sitting here on the couch for me. Thank you, producers. Got my special guest sitting on the couch for me today. We're going to get into some good stuff. Welcome, guest. How you doing today?
I am well. Thank you so much for having me this evening.
It is a pleasure for you to take time out of your very busy schedule to come and sit on the Worst Day of the Week couch. Thank you so much. I don't know what happened to my headset here. Okay, I'm missing one. Sorry, producers. I'm right here, right? It's over here on my shoulder. Thank you. My producers be watching me, so they always know where it's at. Not up. Thank you so much. Okay, y'all, we got a good show for you today. We're going to get right into the news that you can use. The news that you can use is not what I say. It's not what anybody else says. It is exactly what it is. It's the news that you can use. Today's news that you can use. I don't remember the news that you can use. Today's news that you can use is watch the news. Pay attention to what's going on in your community. Pay attention to what's going on in your surroundings, in your state, in your city. Pay attention to when it's time to vote. Pay attention. You always need to be. A lot of people say they don't watch the news because they don't want to see sad stuff or they don't want to see killings and they don't want to see this and that. But you need to know, you need to pay attention to what's going on in your community. So that is the news that you can use. I'm going to get into this conversation with my very special guest. Please help me welcome my guest, Venton Hill-Jones, to the show. Thank you so much. Thank you. Welcome to the show, Vin. So I asked you to come on. It is Pride Month. You are a super, super dope, awesome person. Every time I see you, you got something wonderful going on. Talk to me a little bit about what you do at the Southern Black Policy and Advocacy Network.
Okay, wonderful. I'm the founder and the chief executive officer of the Southern Black Policy and Advocacy Network.
Okay.
We are appreciate that. We are a nonprofit that was established in 2018 to improve the lives of Black people in the South and making sure that not only on the healthcare side that services are being provided, but also that we are reinforcing those services with good policy. So many things like the Affordable Care Act, down to how services are distributed in across zip codes, are such super important things that we oftentimes don't really talk about in healthcare. We talk about the services, we talk about the doctor's visits, but there's another piece of that, and that's the policy piece. Yes. And that's where we work, and we do a lot of work with health departments and elected officials and people like that. So, yeah.
Wow. How did you come about? Where does the passion come from for wanting to start such an amazing and awesome project?
Well, being born and raised in Dallas, I think that as somebody who's had to navigate the healthcare system, I saw that the issues that I saw that was impacting Black people, particularly ones that lived in the southern part of Dallas, it wasn't about whether there was enough clinics on the corner or enough services being provided. It really boiled down to the lack of representation of Black people from communities at health departments, at different places where the decisions about the services were going to be made. So I learned that at an early point in my life, in my career, and actually moved to DC
Mhm.
to learn how to do that. And
Yes.
so I spent about a decade there, and then came back about 2 years ago. And
Let's talk
boom.
about that, moving to DC. What was it like for you moving to DC to start this great new career?
Well, DC was really a learning place for me.
Mhm.
I spent a lot of time just learning from a lot of policy experts. I worked at two main organizations: the National Black Gay Men's Advocacy Coalition
Okay.
and the National Black Justice Coalition.
Mm-hmm.
And those are both two organizations that kind of kept me on the Hill, kept me working with a lot of elected officials, community leaders, and that really sparked my passion of wanting to bring that to home.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure that that same representation that you saw in DC is something that you also could see in Dallas and
Wow,
across the South. So
that is amazing. So, about how many people work with you on that?
right now we have a staff of about 3,
Mm-hmm.
but we actually have an advisory committee of about 20, and those will be executive directors, policy directors, and other people across the staff across the South who are actually doing policy work too, and leading organizations focusing on addressing healthcare needs. Particularly right now, we're focusing on HIV and the impact of HIV in the South, where in the South, over 50% of people that are becoming HIV positive and those who are living with HIV are Black. So
Yes.
that brings a huge need to focus on.
Uh-huh.
If we're looking at ending HIV, that's going to have to be a conversation we have that's going to hit Black people first.
Yes,
So
that's amazing. That's really good. That sounds really, really great. And I cannot believe that. That is amazing, man. When you what is your goal? What do you want? I know you want to reach African Americans. You want to reach Black people. You want to meet them where they are in the community. What is your goal?
I think that this word is used a lot, but it really kind of captures what I feel. I want Black people to be healthy, and I want to make sure that in any spaces that we go into, that there's equity, that there's fairness, and that the issues that we talk about in the healthcare, hospital, nurses, doctors, those are also the same conversations that need to translate on the streets and the churches and our families, and making sure that those conversations take place. And also making sure that organizations that it's working to serve Black people, that they get equitable funding to address the issues, because so often when we talk about any kind of health or social issues, Black communities are often at the top for issues, but oftentimes organizations receive like the least amount of funding to be able to solve those problems. So we end up continue being in these loops of having to continue to come at the table and figure out how do we do this with even least amount of resources. So working to change that, particularly in Dallas where this is home, and changing that is something that you see, because not only did it impact me, but it also impacted people that I grew up on.
Yes. When you are, how can people help you? What can people do to help you with your goal?
Well, I think the first and foremost is being able to donate to the organization, which of course, if you have PayPal, our email address is info@sbpan.org.
info@sbpan. Okay. .org. Okay, we're going to get that up on the screen. My producers are going to get that up on the screen. It's info@sbpan.org. And so you can use that email for PayPal.
Absolutely.
Is that the only way that they can donate to the organization?
Right now, or just send an email. We're actually remodeling our website right now because of some of the increased traffic that's coming, that the attention that you're really seeing because of COVID has really brought a lot of attention to other health issues such as HIV, the other pandemic that we're having to deal with, and other health issues that we're seeing. So we actually have remodeled our website. But there's definitely ways, even if you email that address to see how to donate, that we want to get people plugged in. I think another way to get involved is just to reach out to us. There are so many people that wanted to do work and that want to get involved and raise their voice. We want to hear those voices. And we not only want to have those voices kind of work to support our work, but also how can we have those voices also in other places where Black leadership is so important, like at the health department, like at Commissioner's Court, like at City Council meeting, and all those other places that really need our voices, particularly from our leaders, our business owners, entrepreneurs who are out here doing some amazing things means, bringing people together. So I think that it's all about how do we bring each other together and really talk and strategize about how do we make the communities that we're part of and that we serve more healthy and happy and whole.
Yes, that's awesome. That's really, really well said. It's really well. Why you be talking? Let's talk about that. So you said making the Black voices heard. Why do you think it is that the Black voice is not speaking out about the issues that you're so passionate about?
Well, I definitely think there are Black voices that are speaking out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that oftentimes when we talk about getting our seat at the table,
Mm-hmm.
our voices sometimes need to reach and penetrate deeper spaces. So it just can't start and stop with voting. We have to also make sure we know who we're voting for.
Mm-hmm.
And once we vote for that person, to make sure we're going to visit their office and building a relationship.
Mm.
So often we come to this point of engaging, but not fully continuing that engagement process, so that we're building these relationships, so that people know what our issues are. People know what we have going on in our lives and our communities. And so that's something that can definitely be improved. I don't think that we are doing bad, but I think that there's definitely more work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
And that comes with that ongoing engagement, that relationship building with, elected officials, with, health department officials, and those who are kind of charged with being the decision makers, and also the ones who are holding the purse strings for the resources that are serving our community. Not only do our organizational leaders need to be heard, but also our community leaders need to be heard. One area that we work with to kind of bring these health and other conversations together in kind of the Black business spaces, we are working with the Dallas Black Chamber of Commerce to build conversations around health equity and also economic justice, and kind of bringing those conversations together, because you can't really kind of one issue a person's going through so many different things. So 9 times out of 10, if a person's in health insurance is connected to their employment, that you're going to want to make sure that they have jobs and they have good jobs, they have good health care. And if that's not going on, what are the conversations that can come about in that space? But you really have to kind of meet people where they are, literally in their living room, to make sure that these issues are connected in a way. And I think that that's what organizations like SBPAN exist, to be able to kind of build those bridges and build those conversations, because I think we make the assumption in saying like Black people are not involved or Black people are not engaged. We are there, and there just needs to be more kind of people kind of building bridges between different decision makers and also community leaders with those communities, so that those voices can be heard at a bigger scale.
Yes, that's awesome. I like that. That's really, really good. You are also a real estate agent.
I am.
That is something new. That's your new venture, right?
Yes, that was.
What makes you want to get into real estate?
Real estate has been very interesting. After going through the process of my husband and I like buying a home, it was something that I became very interested in, just navigating and really helping, just like my agent did for me, to facilitate this process of home ownership. And so I remember going through that process in 2019. And so actually in 2020, that's when I became a real estate agent. Right. I got my license, I think January the 30th, and then COVID hit. So it was interesting kind of getting started, during the COVID pandemic, but it was great because there's a lot of people wanting to buy homes, sell homes. And it's just something that I really enjoy. And it takes myself out of kind of the constant public health space, to be still another space of like helping people. I think that as somebody who works in the southern sector of Dallas with my real estate work, so many people that I run into and work with are first-time homeowners. So just helping somebody get into their first home, helping them go through that like long and tedious process of getting their first house is something that brings me a lot of joy. So I really enjoy that.
That's amazing. So I like what you said, like helping people. You're still helping people, even though it takes you out of the healthcare realm. You're still in the business of helping people. I really like that.
Absolutely.
So that's your passion. That's what you want to do. With the entirety of your life, is help others. That's amazing.
Absolutely, it's always been like that. That's how it was. And I think that's important work that we all have to kind of get around and replicate as much as possible. I would say like that, the desire to help came from my family. I came from a family of caretakers, particularly like women who were home health care workers. So always going to I have a lot of different memories of leaving Lancaster High School,
Yeah.
and going with my grandmother and my aunts to do their home health care work after school. And that's always been something that stuck with me, of wanting to kind of be in that space of giving and helping. And so versus doing that as like a medical, professional, I went to, other spaces like the policy, the advocacy work, but still it's kind of still true to that like healthcare core, caregiver, helper.
Let's talk about another one of your hats, election judge.
Yeah.
Yes. Tell us about that.
Well, I serve 2 roles with the Dallas County Democratic Party as well as the Elections Commission. One, I'm a precinct chair in my neighborhood. Like I was just saying, after buying a home, the home that was purchased was actually across the street from the house that I grew up in.
Wow. Wow.
So it was huge to be able to kind of move back into the neighborhood that raised me. And part of
when you moved into the house that was across the street from the house that you were raised in, did you think like, wow, I've been looking at this house all of my life and I never thought that I'd be living in it?
That house looks so different. But to that very point though, I remember like the block, and always there's a convenience store, and there's actually this like Mexican food place that I still go to this day that I went to as a kid, and actually my dad went to, when he was growing up, that was down this street, Vermont Avenue. And I remember like you said, when we bought the house, I remember we didn't have blinds on it. I looked out of the the glass window and actually could look out and actually see kind of the room that I grew up in. And so I actually went over, my grandmother's house was actually still in the house, and actually went into the room that I grew up in and like looked out the window and saw my house. That was when I had that. So that was that.
That's amazing. Bet you it was a really, really good feeling.
It was. It definitely is to be able to come back.
What's it like living next door to your grandma? I would love that. I would. I mean, does she like cook for you all the time? You just full riding.
She taught me how to cook.
Okay.
And so now I cook for her.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
So the extent of, I don't think that has she? It's maybe a couple of little one-offs that she'll be like, I cook this and like come get some. But 9 times out of 10, I'm asking her for recipes that I'm cooking and like, oh, come taste this. Like I want you to kind of get your stamp of approval on it. Yeah. So it's been really good to be back home kind of on my own terms, which means I'm not in the house, but I'm like adjacent to it. So I can go into my own house under my own roof. That she said that when I get old enough, that's where I can make the rules. That's what the rules are.
That's what the rules are.
So being back with her, like just there has been really good. It's nice in the sense of it really takes you out of all the stuff that's kind of in your present. Like I'm not CEO there. I'm not precinct chair. I'm not election judge. I'm grandson, and that's also the handyman, the secretary, the change of ink cartridges, and I think she had to like almost had me change a gas line. Some crazy stuff. So that's nice. So it's nice to be able to be next door to that.
You've done a lot of work to your new home. I've seen that on your social media. So you do all kinds of things. You also planted a garden. How's the garden growing?
The urban garden is delicious.
Delicious.
So the whole premise, my husband and I, we were living in Washington, D.C. We started this whole thing called urban garden. Neither one of us came from a background to where we could keep plants alive.
Okay.
And so we made.
I'm having a hard time.
It's a struggle, but this is where it changed for us. We started growing things that we could eat.
Okay. Which
means if you don't take care of it, you can't eat it.
Right.
So that gave me a little bit of motivation to be able to start, taking care of it, making sure I came out and checked on it, making sure that everything, kind of grew. So it started from a box probably about this big, and then now it's, a big chunk of our yard. And so it's been nice. But my biggest thing right now is garden pests.
What kind of things do you grow?
Trees, fruit trees, herbs, basil, bell peppers, jalapenos, tomatoes. Greens. That's why I have a lot of issues with like pests. So greens, cabbage, broccoli, Brussels sprouts. The same little worm comes from that. And
You figuring out one
I
now.
haven't had a piece of lettuce.
Well, maybe the rabbits in New York.
It's these
caterpillars.
Yes,
They won't go away.
yeah. So
Maybe we can Google it and find out.
let's do it.
Okay, we'll do that later.
Please.
We're gonna get rid of them caterpillars.
Right.
I want some greens, and I can't plant no garden because I don't have the.
I remember I did get close to growing some greens, and I had enough of a leaf for like one little wrap,
Yeah,
and that's all I got. So
and then it was over.
it was green leaves,
That's amazing.
stock stems.
That's really good. When I move into my first house, I hope to plant a garden. I hope that I have the energy and the time to put into planting a garden.
But why don't you just start one now? Like, so the thing is, instead of a big, like, 'cause I think a big garden is just overwhelming. Like, okay,
Not right now. Not right now. So, all of the hats that you wear, where do you find the time to spend with your husband?
wow, that's something that's an ongoing challenge. I think that now kind of in being married for almost, let's say we just had our 4 years. 3 years, 4 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's a task, to be able to do that. We both
Give me your secret.
right. It's about being intentional.
Uh-huh.
It's about making sure that you put in as much time as prioritizing, your relationship, just as much you prioritize the work and being able to go do everything else that has to happen.
Yes.
One thing that's been really great with us and what we both have to be intentional about, both of us working, and he just finished school, is taking trips.
Yes.
Well, another thing that we started, a long time ago in Washington, D.C., what we call mini vacations. And they were trips that were no longer than a 3-hour drive, but could be somewhere to get away and spend a long weekend to get away, whether that be a cabin, whether it be a camping trip or something. We, made time to just get out and get into a space with each other. And it became the outdoors so much because that was usually the place you didn't have a cell phone signal.
Oh wow, that's beautiful.
So no work.
I need to try that. Go to a place without a cell phone signal
Or internet.
Right. I'm gonna get in trouble, but okay.
It makes you unplug, and that as a planner, it may get you to the point to where you have to at some point cut it off and get the people around you to be like, I'm cut off, and even if you want to reach me, you can't. See you Monday.
Yeah, see you Monday.
See you Monday.
On the worst day of the week.
Right.
Don't forget to watch the worst day of the week each and every Monday live at 7:00 p.m. right here on Facebook and YouTube live at 7:00. Today was a little bit late because me and my husband took a little mini vacation. We took a little road trip down to Houston, and we was rushing back. I said, if we leave by 3, we'll be okay. But I forgot that it was a 4-hour drive. That was like a 3-hour drive. We made it. Good timing.
The weather was bad.
The weather was really bad.
Yes.
I didn't want to start driving early in the morning. The rain was pouring down raining. And so I said, let's just wait it out. Went to see some family, had a really good time.
Well, it is the worst day of the week.
It is the worst of the week. Oh, Ben, I want to thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me about all of the hats that you wear. I asked you on because it's Pride Month. And I know tons of people that have pride, but you in particular are a person with so much character, so much poise, so professional, so awesome. You always say the right things and are doing the right things. Shouts out to you. Hats off to you. You are an amazing person, and keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a really good job.
Thank you so much.
People in the community, they see you and they're watching you, and they're fascinated with you. I'm amazed at how far you've come. It's absolutely beautiful, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much. Really
You're very welcome. You're very, very welcome. We're going to get right on into the rest of the show. It's almost time to go, so y'all know what that means. It is What the What Time. Then now, What the What Time is when it's a Facebook topic.
Okay.
It's basically all about the things that we see on Facebook that are funny, entertaining, thought-provoking, encouraging, not so funny, All of those things that we see on Facebook, I screenshot a couple of my favorites, and I read them on the show.
All
And
right.
if you have any, feel free to read those as well.
Okay.
Okay. My first what the what says, no more edibles for me. I was in my house ready to go home. I had an edible before and I was just like that. Stop trying to rebuild bonds that you didn't break. Forget those people. How do you feel about that, Vin? If you had a bond with somebody and it gets broken, do you try to rebuild it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that everybody should make an effort.
Make a little bit of an effort.
Right.
Don't break your back.
Nope.
Don't bend your back, break your
I mean, bend it, but don't break it.
don't break it. Okay.
Because you know that once it's gone, you know you tried everything. You
Tried
could,
everything.
and it's a done deal.
But relationships should if it was a good relationship, it was just, a little bump in the road, it should be you should try to fix those things.
Well, of course. I mean, I think relationships are a little bit something different. Like,
Mhm.
period. Any kind of
Yeah,
relationship.
any
We're
kind
talking
of
about friendship. We're talking about
relationship,
romantic
yeah.
relationship. I think that is always worth the effort.
Yes.
Because if it's not worth the effort that you put in, what was it worth to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
And something's easy to walk away from. It was really
You
never.
can't get that time back either.
Right.
You can't get that time back.
Right. And you can build
And you
that
don't
time
want
with
to
you.
want to have wasted all of that time.
Right.
Mhm.
But hopefully everything that you go through is a lesson in and of itself. So even the good, the bad, and the ugly, there's lessons in that. So
Mhm. Don't disturb my peace by telling me what other people said about me. Keep it to yourself. They told you and not me. That's a good one. I like that. Sometimes when people try to tell me what someone said about me, I say, "Oh, what did you say when they said that?"
right.
And then if somebody's telling somebody something bad about you, then they felt comfortable because that's the conversation that you guys typically have,
Mhm.
where you can talk and say those things about me. You probably was laughing and having a good gay old time. Yeah.
Kinky.
I don't like that.
Mhm.
But don't tell me. Keep it to yourself because they told you. I don't
Talk
want
to the
know.
person you was talking to.
At any moment, God can shift you from waiting on it to walking in it. I know that you can attest to that.
Amen.
Yes. Don't go back to anything that you had to pray your way out of. That goes for people, situations, drugs, jail. Don't go back to anything that you had to pray your way out of. There's some things that I've had to pray my way out of, and I ain't going back to those things because prayer works. And once you start praying, you don't even want to do those things anymore. You don't want to. Oh, this is a good one. I'm not gonna say it though. Since y'all so smart, solve this. 4 kids was running around my house, and one of them broke something. How many kids got their ass whooped?
All of them.
All of them.
All of them.
It's everybody.
Mhm.
If you don't feel like praying, force it because something is also forcing you not to pray. That's really good.
That's good.
If you don't feel like praying, force it. And then sometimes I'm like that. I'm like, oh, you say your prayers, at night before bed. And so I'm getting older, so I'm like, oh, Lord, I'm gonna say I'm in the bed. I'm not gonna say I'm on the side on my knees this
Yes.
time. And so I'm like, oh, just get on down there, boy. Get on down there. I have to force myself down there sometimes. I'm admitting that. I think you are doing a beautiful job figuring out some heavy things. That's just a little encouragement. I think you are doing a beautiful job figuring out some heavy things.
I like that. I got
like
one.
that too. Okay.
You cannot climb the top of a mountain with friends that do not give you oxygen.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's really good. Can you read that again?
You cannot climb to the top of the mountain with friends that don't give you oxygen.
It's really important that you surround yourself with like-minded individuals, people who are on your level, doing what you're doing, achieving what you're achieving, and that can push you and encourage you, hold you accountable.
That's right.
It's really important. That's a really good one.
Thank you. That's somebody I keep on my face.
Friends who don't give you oxygen should they're not giving you any life. They're not giving you anything to help you push you along the way. That's really, really good. I like that.
Thank you.
A relationship or marriage will never work if the opinions of other people dictate how you move with your significant other.
Say it one more time.
A relationship or marriage will never work if the opinions of other people dictate how you move with your significant other.
That's a word.
That's a word.
That's a word.
I'm newly married, so this was really good for me. I was like, okay, so don't listen to what they said because that's just an opinion,
right?
And I need to focus on what's going on in my own time.
And never take a single person's advice about your marriage.
Oh, okay.
Surround yourself with other married folks who understand. There's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, but all days are worth it when you have somebody, being able to go through life and handle everything that is you.
Yes, everything, especially the picture. No. Well, that is today's show. I want to thank my very special guest, Venton Hill-Jones, for coming on the show with me, sitting on the couch and chilling with me today.
Thank you.
Next week, I have an awesome show lined up for you. Don't forget to tune in to Worst Day of the Week live each and every Monday, live right here on the Worst Day of the Week couch in the Worst Day of the Week studio at 7 o'clock on the dot. We might be 1 or 2 minutes late. That's okay. I'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye.
Laughing is good for the soul. Keep it 100, yeah, you already know. Not Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but the worst day of the week. It's not Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but the worst day of the week. Yeah.
Worst day of the week.
Worst day of the week. Yeah.